Welcome back to Small Caps. My name is Kerry Stevenson, and today I am bringing you Chris Byrne, Managing Director of Legacy Minerals. ASX code is LGM. Now, for those of you that have been sitting under a rock, Legacy Minerals only listed in September. Chris and the boys have been out there in New South Wales drilling at Harden, and he's going to tell us the story because I tell you, some of the results and some of the assays that are coming back, quite frankly, are fabulous. So well done, Chris. You've been working hard. It's coming up to Christmas. So if I don't see you before Christmas, this is the final time. Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you, Kerry, and thanks for having us today on Small Caps.
Well, it's good to see you, and I would like to say congratulations. You've got some fantastic ground out there. But before we get into what you've been doing at Harden, let's just remind our listeners, Legacy Minerals got a couple of projects. Let's just give a brief overview of who you are, and then we'll get into what you're seeing out at Harden.
Sure thing. So, yeah, Legacy Minerals, we're based in New South Wales, so the Lachlan Fold Belt. We do have quite an exciting and diverse package of tenements. We've got some ground out at Central Cobar, prospective for your Cobar type ore bodies. So great district, great region out there, lots of exploration activity. To the north of that, we've recently picked up some ground with a nickel tin focus, so quite close to Sky's Dorradilla system. And that's quite an exciting project that we've added to our pipeline. Very good nickel intercepts, up to 0.5% nickel over quite large distances. So a very open opportunity there in the nickel and tin space. So quite exciting to bring that into the portfolio. We've got Rockley, our porphyry project, based just south of Bathurst down there. Fontenoy, another gold and copper focused VHMS, large scale, proven in drilling. And then we've got Harden and Balloora. So Balloora, we're planning to drill in January next year. That's a low sulfidation epithermal, significant scale, high grades. That's going to be quite exciting to get in there with the RC rigs, which are booked January. And then lastly, and certainly not least, is our Harden project, where we've been very aggressively drilling. We were drilling on the day that we rang the listing bell, and we've pretty much not stopped since. So RC campaign followed up by this diamond drill campaign that we've got underway at the moment.
Well, you've done that really nicely for me, because I actually wanted to start with Harden and then I wanted to go on to Balloora, because there's a lot of packages you've got, but there's been a big focus since you listed in September, and actually before that, of drilling at Harden. So let's talk about that, because you've got some grades, some assays that have come back. Talk to us about, how did you get the project? Because I think from memory, there's been no drilling done out there for something like 100 years, which sounds extraordinary. So remind our listeners, how the heck did Legacy Minerals figure out that this was going to have something pretty interesting?
Yeah, sure thing. It is a really exciting project. What we picked it up, the young granodiorite is a large alluvial and hard rock gold fields. It produced around 460,000 ounces of gold. So this is all turn of the century, pre-First World War, and there was no one exploring in that district, which is quite unfathomable when you think about the grades and the historic production. So we moved in there in 2018, 2019, picking up the ground. And we picked out that Harden and McMahon's Reef, as they contain the two largest hard rock mines in the district. Harden in particular, 55,000 ounces at 21 grams. So significant grades and significant production. And we really saw an opportunity in this mine that had shut down in 1913. The water table was very high at Harden, so it was very difficult to mine at any at depth. So they got to around 230 meters. The cutoff grade for production was around 15 grams per tonne. So they needed to get some really good high-grade ore in order to sustain the dewatering and the significant operations they'd set up at Harden. They couldn't do it. The onset of the First World War sort of pretty much finished up Harden as a project, and that was the last time it was really looked at from a hard rock perspective. And so we've been the first company in over 100 years. It's never been drilled. A lot of projects you look at New South Wales, a lot of companies have had a go at them, and they've either drilled them in the 80s, 90s, and then moved on. Yeah. This project, the opportunities is well and truly Legacy's, and we're quite, the results that we're seeing are giving us a lot of encouragement that this, is a potentially are going to be a great company maker for us. We're seeing grades there, we're seeing scale, and importantly, we're seeing, it's open very much along strike. So we picked it up because of that prospectivity, the historical mining records that we spent a lot of time digitizing and understanding where it went. The geology is complex, we've since found, and that's through our diamond drilling, which has really unpacked the system down there into what is this large.
Sorry to interrupt you, Chris. What do you mean it's complex? Does that mean that it's going to be difficult to figure out the geology and where, I guess, not the mother lode, but where and how it sits?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, when I say it's complex, from the perspective of if we're the first company that's diamond drilled this, so this is a region that hasn't seen any diamond drilling ever. We're essentially building the geological model. So we've got this large shear zone that's significant. 15 meters of alteration, quartz, sericite, pyrite. So we've got to name a few geological units as well. So that's how virgin the territory is down there. So it's complex in that we're building a model to understand where it dips, how it plunges.
Right.
And the old timers, they were mining a very small, narrow vein. That's what they thought. But what it was is it sits within a larger system. So they did struggle to mine it because of the discontinuity. But the way that we can drill it very much unpacks and gives us that understanding. So we're building that geological model, which is going to be quite exciting to present that system to the market and its potential.
So how much have you done to date?
In terms
of drilling, and what can you share with us that it's showing you? Why are you looking at that? I mean, you've mentioned that nothing's been done for 100 years. Where do you go and find gold? Where there used to be gold, and where no one's been drilling for 100 years? Sounds pretty good to me. But what's Legacy done to date as we come into Christmas? And what are your plans for early next year? Because I know that you're coming to the gold conference in February. There's probably going to be a lot of news flow between now and then as well.
Yeah, we're quite excited to get to that gold conference with some nice drill core and some nice visible gold as well that we can bring. We've done around 1,500 meters of RC. So a lot of that was targeting the shallower parts of the mine. And what we're really testing for is the grade that the old timers left behind. And they've left behind a lot. 5 meters at 7 grams per ton gold from 110, including 2 at 17 grams. So they've mined out a very small portion of what is this large system. We've completed 2 out of the 4 planned diamond drill holes. Assays coming back for those next year. So we'll finish off the rest of the diamond drill campaign before Christmas or early into the new year. And then we're expected to get the assays back in January. So quite a good turnaround time. We're looking at we're doing fire assays. And there was an announcement out that we went out earlier this week. Again, because there hasn't been a lot of historical exploration here, we've very much tried to get an understanding on the mineralization here. We're seeing, we do have coarse gold, nuggety gold, and that does play some havoc with assays. You can see some of the lab duplicates returned, very, very significant upgrades to the original assays, going from 1 gram per ton up to 19. So that's, again, us understanding the system, implementing the right methodologies to assay it and get the accurate picture of the mineralization down there.
Yeah, and I guess it's double checking and making sure that you're not going out there saying, look at what we've found, when actually it's that nuggety stuff which can skew the results a little bit. So you go back twice, is that right?
Yeah, go back, do the duplicates. We've looked at screen fire assays as well and tested that. And so for anything that we see, visible gold, they'll be screen fire assay. And it just gives us the confidence. We're obviously trying to target a resource model here. So we're looking at, within the existing IPO use of funds, we're seeing good grade in virtually all the holes and quite a consistent, picture that we're seeing. And understanding that good, assaying and it feeds into the metallurgical aspects to what we're looking for when we're trying to target a JORC compliant resource down there.
I'm getting a picture in my mind now, Chris, and what I want, the Harden mine. It was a mine. You mentioned earlier that they went down to about 200 meters. That was max.
That's
Where
correct.
are you drilling in the same area? Are you drilling deeper? What's the
so we've
drill out there?
We've recently, these diamond drill holes have been deeper and they're testing underneath. So below the last stope ground and the last shaft. So we've gone underneath the mine, and that's where we have intersected that visible gold in the drill core in this, significant 15-meter zone of quartz, sericite, pyrite alteration. So very interesting, drill core. So we've tested that extension at depth. The old timers hadn't touched that. We've also tested along strike as well, and we're seeing quite good results, at least in the early geological observations of those drill cores that give us, good confidence on the continuity of this system, along strike as well.
Chris, you've been in the industry for a little while. I mean, in terms of not excitement, but in terms of the potential for a decent discovery, if you're a betting man, you're pretty excited about what you're seeing out there. Has it exceeded your expectations from when you listed in September?
It has. We were originally contemplating to drill Balloora or drill Harden first, and it was a bit of a weather issue that pushed us to Harden. And there's some frank discussions of where, will we go and drill anything else? That's how excited we are around the grades. And it's to think about it from what the potential discovery potential is. The Harden gold mine in the young granodiorite, it's really been it's been elephant country. It's been overlooked. In New South Wales, there's been an extreme focus on either Cobar basin exploration or porphyry bulk tonnage type deposits. And so these types of systems have been very much overlooked. And it's not, the recent success at, I guess, Dargues Reef in bringing that into production has really sort of highlighted that there are these high-grade systems here in New South Wales. And we certainly feel that we've got a system here that's showing all the right indicators at this early stage, the grades, the widths, and they're still shallow as well, that this potentially could be something significant for the company.
So how much more drilling are you going to do? Like, give me what's the plans for Harden going forward? A lot more drilling, or when do you think that, are you going to get onto Balloora as well, or are you going to stick with Harden?
Yeah, so we budgeted 5,000 metres of RC drilling across Harden. We've had to change some of that to diamond to give us that just that geological interpretation that we really needed in a system that had no diamond drilling. So we're going to do a few more drill campaigns down there at Harden. So we're looking at probably another follow-up RC campaign, and that essentially gives us meters that we put in. So we're looking at then infill. We're looking at what would it cost for us to define a resource. We've got 5,000 meters of drilling planned for Balloora. So they're the two out of the 15,000 meters across the portfolio. Those two projects take up 60%. And the reason why is that we consider them very prospective. They're high grade, they're shallow, they allow for very cheap drilling, being very close to surface as well. So there's a lot of bang for buck in terms of drill meters and grade and share our ability to add value for shareholders.
And you know what? That's what I love about talking with you, Chris, because you and the team, the whole team, you're always talking about value for shareholders. You're not just going out there willy-nilly doing something. You actually think it through and go, all right, what's the best bang for the buck, which is really good to hear when people are out there drilling, because it can get expensive. In terms of where, give us a picture of where Harden sits and Balloora sits. Are they fairly close? Are they completely different geological structures?
Yeah, it's a good question, and a lot of people are quite surprised, particularly those that don't know New South Wales, just how geologically diverse it is. So we sit in the granodiorite here. You move 50 kilometres to our west into Balloora, and then we've also got Fontenoy to the north, and they're in completely different geological units. Balloora, low sulfidation epithermal, so very different system that we're looking at there. And again, it's still the theme here is we're chasing high grade economic deposits, and we're also looking at legacy production, and that gives us the confidence around those grades that they're there, that they exist, and that whether that was insufficient or inadequate exploration or mining techniques from over 100 years ago, and that's whether you couple those opportunities together. So they're very close. It's great for us there as well, because we've got a site office at Harden, we've got the core shed, the forklift that's all set up, and it allows us to move to Balloora quite quickly as well. So we save a lot of costs again for shareholders in those mobilisation, using all our own staff and employees to do all that work. Again, just allows us to put more money in the ground, which is our focus.
So you've got one drill rig out there at the moment at Harden. Will you move that rig across to Balloora come January? What's the plan?
We're going to have the diamond rig stay at Harden probably into January to finish off the rest of the campaign. It's been slow drilling in some regards. It's quite hard, silicious rock there as well. So it's been a bit slower than what we expected. But then again, because no one's drilled it, we had no real basis on
exactly.
duration. But we are getting another rig, an RC rig, coming into Balloora. So there might even be a time when we've got a bit of an overlap and we'll be running two drill campaigns in parallel, which is ambitious, but we think that we can manage it.
Oh, I love it. I love a bit of ambition, especially if it gives shareholders a really good lot of news flow. So Balloora is very different from Harden. You're going to start drilling that in January. How much work have you done on it to date, which gives you an idea of where to drill and what to do?
Yeah, so Balloora, it's a very big system. What we're seeing here is one of, if not the largest, low sulfidation epithermal system in New South Wales. So that's on a footprint. So that's
just run that past me. What did you just say? It's the largest? One
of the largest, if not the largest, low sulfidation epithermal system. It's huge. So 27 square kilometres of mineralisation and alteration.
Wow.
And so
how do you Chris, how do you attack that?
You have to be very systematic. So we've recently started IP across some of these big veining systems. So these vein systems strike for over 2 kilometres, up to 5 metres wide, grade almost 40 grams in rock chips.
What?
Oh yeah, incredible. So very, very...
Do you think the market has recognised this? Just run that past me again. You're getting rock chips at 40 did you say
39 gram gold and, a couple hundred grams per tonne silver. And so that's quite consistent again across the Balloora project, getting those sort of high grade rock chips. Which is, I guess in those types of systems, that's what you want to see for it to be a fertile, low sulfidation epithermal system. But you can pick up rock chips there from new prospects, and they're grading 15 grams gold. So yes, we have to work very systematically there because it is such a large tenement. There's IP to even generate targets across those large veining systems, is expensive as well, but it does narrow them down to give us the best, the high conviction targets. What we're drilling at first is the Balloora mine. And again, there's that theme there that it was mined previously. We know that there's an ore body there. We know it's up to 3 metres wide. That's what's been, sampled and mined historically, very close to surface. So we've done a lot of geochemistry, geophysics to define that ore body, which we know to be at least 400 metres long, open along strike. That's what we're drilling first. So that's the target that we've got the most confidence in. And, bonanza grades as well. The previous, there's some face samples down there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Chris, is there a little bit more information around Balloora more so than Harden? Because Harden, you're kind of not going blind, but there's a little bit. But is there more at Balloora that you've got more data? Is there any data around Balloora?
So Balloora has been explored by a few other companies. So there has been sporadic drill holes placed throughout the tenement. So Harden, virtually untouched. No one had ever looked at it. A company assessed it for an open pit in the early 80s. And that was pretty much the only time. Whereas in Balloora, they have had some companies look at it. Again, what we're finding here is it's so large that there are areas and prospects that we're finding that no one's been before. And we're also spent a long time re-examining the techniques that people have used to explore previously, and a pretty good indication of, the limited exploration approach that gives us an opportunity is the drilling that was done at the Balloora mine. They only sampled, a very small part of the ore body. So they didn't sample, as you would normally do these days, the rock going, the core going into the mineralized zone and the core going out. They would just pick. So they only have a very small representative sample of what this system is. So there's a real opportunity for us to take a different lens and to drill out that system. And, the grades that we saw in some of those previous drill holes, again, widely spaced, no real understanding of where this dips or plunges. And so that's what we spent a long time modelling that with the historic workings, and that's what the RC will start to give us confidence when we get in there to drill it.
Chris, if it's, I'm not being rude here, but if it's that good, how did you get your hands on? And that's not me being rude. It just sounds like these are very high grades. As you said, it's one of the biggest systems. Why didn't anyone else pick it up before you guys?
Yeah, so the last major explorer that gave it a crack there was Robust Resources. And they had another project in Indonesia, which sucked up all their funding and attention. And then since then, it's been the last owner was a private exploration company, so Legacy was private as well, and we sort of knew that space. And they held it for a few years, and they relinquished it. And in their report, they noted that they just failed to attract a joint venture partner to help fund it. These are large systems; they do take a lot of money to sort of explore and narrow down to drill. And it was at a time in the market when people were relinquishing tenements, or and there just wasn't the rush in exploration. So we saw a great opportunity to pick up a project that'd been tied up for 3 years. With the last drilling done in the 70s and 90s. So it's been very untouched.
So for those people that are listening at the moment, you mentioned some other ones, Mulholland and a couple of other areas that are not the copper. You've got tin. Are you just putting them to one side for the moment because these systems, Harden and Balloora, need your attention for the coming months?
Yes, they make very much logical sense for us to drill because of the grades and the confidence that we've got. Obviously, as a small company and a pretty lean exploration management team, we've got a limited amount of resources, and drilling consumes a lot of those resources. Our other projects we are doing work on concurrently as well. So a lot of that, the new Mulholland, which is the nickel tin project that we picked up, we'll be doing desktop activities, digitizing the drilling there, working out the opportunity. The other projects we're doing, rock chip campaigns, so other campaigns that add value through, generative works that essentially take us towards drill testing. And we do plan towards the end of next year, to get on some of those tenements and drill them out. So the plan is to have all of the projects drilled with the IPO use of funds, with our obvious focus being on these two high-grade systems, and replicating hopefully more of the high-grade results we're getting from Harden.
Well, I tell you what, as I said at the start, you only listed in September of this year. You've hit the ground running, literally. You're putting a lot of shareholder funds into the ground, and that's where, ladies and gentlemen, that's where value and uplift for shareholders comes, is by finding where these systems are. So I congratulate you on that, Chris. We're running out of time. Most of my listeners know that I always ask this question coming up to the end. 3 reasons why investors should be sitting up and checking out Legacy Minerals. ASX code is LGM. What's your 3 reasons that right now is a great time to be looking at Legacy Minerals?
The first is the right grades. So when I say the right grades, we're getting the good high-grade hits at Harden. So some of the the better drill results that you see in New South Wales. So we're onto something there. The second is our focus on drilling, and we've got 70% of our shareholder funds post the IPO that get spent on exploration. So that's money spent in the ground, and that's money spent on drilling. And that's where you add value to shareholders, is through discoveries, and that only comes through the drilling. The last point is Balloora. So we've had a focus on Harden. We're expecting, we've got the drill rigs locked in for January. We're going to be drilling that and expecting some high, impact news flow from that. So that's another thing that shareholders should look out for post our assays coming back from Harden in January, is the Balloora tenement and that opportunity. So they're the 3: the grades, the drilling, and the Balloora tenement.
And the potential uplift with Balloora. And if you want to go and talk to Chris face to face and go and have a look at some of that core, you'll be bringing some core with you to Sydney in February, I assume.
Looking forward to it, yes.
All right. Thanks so much for joining me on Small Caps today, Chris. We'll look forward to seeing you in person in February in Sydney. Thanks very much, and have a very Merry Christmas.
You too, Kerry. Merry Christmas.